podcast.
Considering that we are talking about obviously this pay-per-view in the UK, obviously over the last several years, over the last 30 years, in fact, I'd probably say, there's been several pay-per-view events in the UK, not just from WWE. Obviously, notoriously last year, AEW came to the UK and did their all-in pay-per-view, and are doing it again this year in August. If you want to still give us tickets for free, hello. I'm sliding my DM. We'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Hi. Hi. Love you.
I think you're fine.
Have you had any notorious memories? Because I'm wearing my T-shirt.
Nice.
I'm wearing this Stone Cold Steve Austin T-shirt that I bought last year when we went to watch Money in the Bank, and I paid a ridiculous amount of money to watch it, and it was worth it. I think for me, recently, that's probably one of my favorite British pay-per-views.
I particular thing. So I was quite happy that I watched it at home, only because when the pay-per-view finished and I saw the time and I know what it's like getting out of the O2, I was like, screw that, I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it did take a lot of time to get out to O2.
I'm not doing that. Sorry, WJ, I'm not doing that. You get to a better arena than that shit.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare getting back from the O2.
If anyone's been to the O2 recently, especially after there's been a gig, imagine, I tell you what, I've done a gig around that area before, and I looked at my watch the time that I finished and went, fuck, I'm going to be stuck in a massive traffic. And I was.
That pay-per-view ended like
11.
11. And it was like, you've not thought this through, WWE.
We finished at 11. But it was on a Saturday and there's 24-hour tubes.
Yeah, there is that now, so that's not as big a problem as before. But
no, if you were driving, you were screwed.
Yeah. Who would drive to it? The parking there is insane.
I'll tell you the reason why I think this is probably one of my favourite ones. Not just because I was there, and not because John Cena turned up. That's not the reason. You know how I feel about John Cena. But it was the fact that Roman Reigns got pinned outside of American soil in, 300-something days?
Yeah, he got pinned for the first time.
Yeah. And to see that was epic.
That main event was
epic.
So good.
And to be honest, the chants that the WWE fans were doing in the O2 towards Roman Reigns was hilarious. There was one point we were chanting, "Stand up. If you hate Roman, stand up."
Classic.
And then he clocked what we were doing and then sat down in the ring. And then we went, sit down. If you hate Roman, I fucking loved it. It was great. Any other highlights from you?
Highlights are basically you track all about. Obviously, every British wrestling fan has a bit of a soft spot for SummerSlam 1992, for British Bulldog winning the title, and Bret Hart walking through a man who was off his tits on drugs. Dave Boy had no idea what was going on in that match. But then you're thinking like One Night Only was 97, which is a bit of a weird pay-per-view.
Because that's the one that wasn't seen in America.
Yeah, that was only in Canada and Europe. Yeah.
Which I never understood why.
And they had the Bulldog lose the European title, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
That was always a weird one. One of my favorite, not for the card is like the most bang average late 90s WWE card you've ever seen in your life, right? But Capital Carnage, I particularly like Capital Carnage, right?
Oh, wow.
Not for the card. The main event is like Attitude Era shenanigans, full on McMahon, all the stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
But my favorite thing about it is the celeb cameo that night was, of course, Vinnie Jones. They had Vinnie Jones. Come in and he was giving the speech at the start.
Was this after he was notoriously known for being violent?
He's in all those he's starting to be in those gangster movies and stuff, right? So they got Vinnie Jones in, right? And Vinnie Jones is involved in the main event. Gerald Briscoe gives Vinnie Jones a red card and sends him off.
Oh,
it's
God.
Brilliant. And Vinnie Jones comes back at the end and helps Stone Cold. And I think from Riley, he's like, "It's been emotional." So that was a good. The insurrection cards, nothing ever really.
Oh, the insurrection.
Yeah, there was a couple of them. William Regal, I think, won a title at one of them, but that's.
I think again, it was back in those days where it's like it doesn't really matter. I think in the last insurrection, I remember it wasn't. It was like oh, this is just matches. Like it had no effect on what was happening in real life. I remember going to my first ever WWE event was going to watch one of the recordings of Raw. And I think it was like 2018, maybe 2017. And again, it was just random matches. It had no effect. And I was like, what about, hold on, wait. That makes no sense storyline-wise.
That doesn't matter.
I think one of the matches in the pay-per-view that's probably underrated is Finn Balor and Samoa Joe at NXT TakeOver. I mean, if you're talking about NXT TakeOver London, that's the one.
Banging show.
It was banging, and that and that pay-per-view with that championship match at the end was just epic. It wasn't the point where NXT had established itself as being legitimate.
It was Bayley Nia Jax, which is great, man. That was the birth of that Hey Bayley chant. There was Chad Gable and Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. They were in a tag match. I think Authors of Pain. I think it was a Four Corners tag match.
Yeah, and this is 2015 as well.
And that tag match was excellent. It was just a really good, solid card. And of course, I mean, that NXT UK we don't count, but like any of the takeovers, NXT UK takeovers had banging matches on them.
Yeah,
always. But no one watched them.
It was a shame. But I'm glad for like people like Pete Dunne to come up.
Tyler Bate.
Rhea Ripley, obviously. So those kind of things, I think sometimes we take them with a pinch of short salt, and then when we see how it actually evolves. So we like the progress shows, like obviously help them being established with WWE, especially around that time, was so implementary to people's careers. Yeah. Obviously we're going to talk about All In. Really brief, obviously, because obviously that was last year, and they came out with a bang at Wembley. I'm glad I didn't go, I'm not gonna lie, just because it looked watching it chaotic. Like the setup for it, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you went, please let me know, because the setup looked like you couldn't see anything if you were quay past a certain point.
That's why I was like, because like the tickets I could have technically like got myself, I was like, you're so far away, you don't see anything.
Like you just couldn't see, like especially because the structure of the ring had like, you know, the Dubai, Abu Dhabi stuff, the poles in the middle, and I was just like, you can't see that in. If you're sitting in a certain place, you can't see that in. But obviously, the things I kind of missed, and was like the things that I was like, I wish I was there, was like Chris Jericho's entrance. Him singing his entrance was epic. Richard saying nothing. Obviously, also the madness from CM Punk.
Yeah, well, that was mostly backstage.
It was backstage, but obviously madness. Saraya winning the women's title. Obviously, hometown hero. But it was...
in fairness, that is a good example of when that is like just a pointless thing, because like she dropped out real quick.
Yeah.
And she ain't been in the title picture again.
No. And then obviously seeing MJF and Adam Cole twice.
Yeah.
Having them tag team champions and then having to do the main event was a great piece of work, AEW. And during that time, I loved what they were doing. Now, no.
Having but that was an All In, wasn't it? When Penta and Zero Miedo just disappears halfway through the match so he can do a costume change and come out as Penta, and you like Penta Obscuro, and it's like, what are you doing? And then he comes out in his new gear and does one spot.
I mean, it's all in. You gotta go all in.
I was like, what is this?
He went so all stupid. In. Let us know if you agree with our choices. If you have any other thoughts,
yes, I'd like to hear them.
We would like to hear from you. If you agree with us, if you don't agree with our choices, what was your favorite moments from any wrestling promotion coming to the UK? Whether it's NXT, whether it's NXT, whether it's WWE main roster, or whether it's AEW. I don't think TNA's been here.
Not for a pay-per-view. They've done.
No, they've done shows. Come
here a lot. They used to come tape. I went to TNA tapings in Wembley.
Yeah, but I've not done a pay-per-view, have they?
Oh no, Turning Point last year.
Was it where?
Was up in the Northeast.
My bad. My bad. Well, if you went, let me know how it was. I'll be very intrigued.
Club Podcast.